First, I reject our Western depiction of the world as one that comprises democracies, and we are that, and China, on the other hand, which is not a democracy. Ever since, in particular, I got involved in politics, my belief, conviction that we live in democracies has been shaken to the ground. At the very same time, in China, there is an unsung but very interesting and boisterous democracy that is emerging at the local level. If you look at what happens in the prefectures around China, the degree to which accountability is returning or is being established, to which local officials are overthrown through elections and against the decisions of the Chinese Communist Party. The Chinese Communist Party is quite happy to let democracy grow at the grassroots level as long as its own authority nationwide is not challenged. But that creates what we Democrats would like to see in our democracies. Grassroots, regional, local government that actually has tools, because the Cambridge local authority doesn't have that many tools, especially after Thatcher took them all away. There they have tools. They have a remarkable degree of autonomy when it comes in particular to property rights, which is what we were discussing before. So if you look at, even the large corporations like Alibaba and so on, that are now more or less equivalent in size to the Googles and the Facebooks. These are gigantic corporations. There is something that I find appealing and not democratic, but amenable to a democratic process in China. The contract between the state and Alibaba, for instance, is that your license can be revoked at any moment in time, and your shares can be expropriated at any point in time if you don't fulfill condition A, B, C, D, according to some kind of moral, political principles. Of course, what I cannot possibly accept, it is that the Communist Party, and the authoritarian Communist Party, is the arbiter of whether those conditions are upheld. But imagine that instead of the Communist Party, you had a citizens' assembly through sortition and through other ways of involving local communities, regional communities, or the national community to say to the company that has the right to be exploiting a certain resource, whether it is digital or non-digital or farming or whatever, to say to them, listen, you're being watched by a citizens' assembly that has the right to revoke your property rights. To me, that is a major opportunity, and we should be, learning lessons from China. As for climate change, do you know that in the last 12 months, in China, new renewables were introduced that produce amongst them, only the new ones of the last 12 months, produce more electricity from renewables than the sum of all kilowatts produced by France and Germany. So, whereas we are talking about the Green New Deal, they're actually doing it. And, to the extent that the demos needs air to breathe, and it needs to be able to tackle the challenge of climate change, we have to learn a lot. And what really upsets me is the way in which our own political regimes are treating us like complete fools. I remember George Osborne, your very own George Osborne. Remember when he was Chancellor of the Exchequer, and he went to China and said to the Chinese, we are your people. Come to London, we will make the city the renminbi center of the world, and you can have anything you want. So we went from that to the demonization of China today by the same people, by the same governments. Now, clearly, China is what it was back then today. I mean, if it deserves criticism then, it deserves criticism today. But to go from one to another, to go from the country whose economic policy saved
more people,
it saved the world after 2008. Two things saved capitalism, if you want, from completely collapsing. The Fed and China. And to have Trump portraying China as the great enemy that needs to be put in its place. And the whole process of effectively building up geopolitical tensions that Obama started, by the way, with TPP. The whole point of TPP was to encircle China. So I get really very scared about that because I see a fading United States of America trying to preserve its exorbitant privilege through increasing militarization and increasing trade conflict, a conflictual trade stance, with this portrayal of China as a dictatorship, whereas Trump's America is a brilliant democracy.
Hardly.